Good morning, I'm Rod Hill. We have cloudy skies again, widespread all over the west side of our state and all the way up to Seattle. So far, Salem, the reports that we have coming out of your beautiful city are that you are dry. It is 60 degrees right now. This I did not prepare you for. This has been an absolutely wet morning across all of downtown Portland. It's been going on for over 3 hours now. Just an absolutely consistent mist or drizzle falling, and as I mentioned, everything's wet. 57 degrees, so that's a rain jacket morning. Later today, we should be mainly dry, and in fact, the cloud deck will start to thin out somewhat, especially down to the south of Portland. This is another day with sun in central Oregon and with sun in eastern Oregon. Our forecast into the weekend has not changed. We still think we'll be clearing out of all this, but for today, 74 at 5 o'clock with thinning clouds, the morning drizzle. Here's the weekend sun. 80 tomorrow. I still think we could reach 90 degrees on Sunday.
Now at 8 o'clock, 3 more protesters face charges stemming from the gatherings outside Portland's ICE facility. That includes one woman who officers tased after she allegedly threw a knife at them.
What you gonna tase him for? What the you gonna tase him for?
More on the charges and what people who live in that neighborhood are saying about the protests.
Plus, the sleight of hand tactics used in a multi-city theft spree.
Slipping one into their pocket or transferring it off to somebody else.
Well, we're learning about 2 women who are accused of stealing from jewelry stores and coin shops along I-5.
Also this hour, it has been a full decade since same-sex marriage became legal here in the U.S.
Everybody was just so excited, you know, it means so much to a lot of people.
We're going to hear from one of the first couples to legally tie the knot in the state of Washington.
And later, it's a wedding weekend like no other. Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez celebrates the second day of their lavish Venetian celebration.
This is for everybody, for Bezos, for her wife, and for you, for me.
A star-studded guest list and reaction from locals in one of Italy's most famous cities. The 8 o'clock hour sunrise starts right now. Good morning, and thank you for joining us live at 8 on your Friday. I'm China Green.
And I'm Drew Carney. So that's a 2-day wedding they're holding there? A 2-day event?
I'm actually surprised it's not like a week, but yes.
Rod Hill will bring you into the mix here. I'm wondering, yes, you call off the wedding after you've already completed day 1. Do you have to complete day 2 once you've already done day 1, I wonder?
Valid question. I was thinking how disappointed I would be if I showed up to that wedding and it was not an open bar. Jeff Bezos? Come on.
Right?
Gotta be. Here's a look at the Snookwinds Casino Resort camera in Lincoln City. This has been dry to our eyes, 55 degrees. I'm going to make the assumption there are reporting sites along the beach that are getting some light moisture. Downtown Portland, we've now racked up 3/100ths of an inch of rain for the mist or drizzle. It's been coming down solidly for about 3.5 hours at this point. So it is wet, just like it looks from our Rose City camera. There are the raindrops also being reported out along the Columbia River. So you'll find wet weather likely crossing the Interstate Bridge and also the Glenn Jackson. 57 right now. I can't pinpoint when this will end. I'm going to make the assumption that odds favor us being dry but cloudy at noon, 65, and then some thinning cloud cover after that would help us get up to 70 or maybe a little bit more. More thinning cloud cover south of Portland, less to the north, getting up into Vancouver. That's your forecast for today.
Thank you, Rod. Hey, we start with a big traffic alert for the weekend starting tonight at 9. Southbound 217 will be closed between Canyon Road and 99W. All drivers will have to exit at Canyon Road. The closure lasts through 5 a.m. Monday. And ramps from Beaverton Hillsdale Highway to 91W will also be closed. Northbound 217 may see overnight lane closures as well, but at least one lane will stay open there. It's the third of 5 weekend closures. Wall crews pave ramps and new lanes.
New this morning, a man in a wheelchair is in the hospital after he was hit by a car in southeast Portland. This happened late last night at southeast 122nd and Market Street. Police say the driver did stay at the scene and is cooperating with investigators. The man, meanwhile, is expected to survive.
All right, back here to our top story this morning. 3 more people face federal charges related to criminal activity near the Portland ICE facility. Federal officers tased one of the suspects after she allegedly threw a knife at them. He was caught on camera. Here's KGW's Amma McCarty with more.
What you gonna tase him for?
Video shared with KGW shows Federal Protective Service officers following, then tasing a woman after they say she attempted to light an incendiary device, waved a large knife at them, and threw it at one of the officers. This escalation after federal officers dispensed things like gas canisters to disperse the crowd after two people tried to set an American flag on fire in the driveway.
Are you serious? Help them!
Crowds voicing their anger after all this went down right outside the ICE facility in South Portland late Tuesday night. Court documents name the woman as 46-year-old Julie Winters. She's charged with attempted assault of a federal officer, a felony, and made her first appearance on Thursday in federal court. According to federal prosecutors, two more people, 20-year-old Azeel Chambers and 28-year-old Rachel Pope, also made first appearances for misdemeanor offenses. Protesters we spoke with say the headlines and arrests aren't telling the full story.
This is literally a bunch of community members coming together and providing support for marginalized people. That's what they're not seeing.
And more often than not, the scene looks like this.
It's mutual aid, which I honestly thought that was Portland values. I thought that was the progressiveness of it. But I'm seeing it being criminalized.
To me, it looked like they were...
Neighbors like Mindan Okan have observed the interactions between federal agents and protesters for weeks.
Like, are we a third world country right now? Like, why are you, attacking civilians like that? And protesters. Like, I understand, there is a couple of protesters who get mad and do what they want to do. But don't take that away from the protesters who are peaceful.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
All right, next up here on Sunrise, the latest on the trial of former Trailblazers player Ben McLemore, who's charged with raping a woman at a house party in Lake Oswego. We also have a warning here that some of the testimony in the story is graphic. McLemore took the stand in his own defense yesterday, answering questions about the night of that party at former teammate Robert Covington's house in 2021. He testified that he encountered the alleged victim in the bathroom after some of her friends asked him to help move her to the couch because she was intoxicated. McLemore said he later fell asleep and woke up on that same couch hours later with the woman's hands down his pants.
Fondling me and basically rousing me. So that's what pretty much woke me up. Again, I'm in deep sleep.
McLemore says the sex was consensual. Prosecutors say the woman did not give consent. So that's what this trial really comes down to at this point. Closing arguments in the trial are expected sometime next week. We also want to share this reminder. If you or someone you know is a victim of sexual assault, the National Sexual Assault Hotline is available 24 hours a day. The number is 800-656-HOPE. Right there on your screen. Again, it's 800-656-HOPE.
An Idaho judge says Brian Koberger, the man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students, will go on trial in August with a week delay. So jury selection will begin on August 4th. The trial will start on the 18th. It was supposed to start on the 11th. The judge didn't give a reason for the change, but denied the defense's motion for delay and another defense motion to introduce evidence that someone else may have committed the murders.
All right, police believe that 2 women are targeting jewelry stores and coin shops from here to Seattle, and they say they're using what investigators have described as sleight of hand tactics. On May 31st, surveillance images show the 2 women at a mall in the Linwood area near Seattle. That's where they're accused of taking a necklace worth more than $9,000. This is another look at those same 2 women. And that very same day, police say they also stole $400 from a shop that is in Lakewood, also near Seattle. And that's not all. These 2 also accused of stealing a coin worth about $3,400 a few days later right here in Portland.
They, selected different merchandise, and just through that transaction of checking the different merchandise, they are slipping one into their pocket or transferring it off to somebody else.
Anyone with information about the women or these crimes is asked to call the police department there in Linwood. All right, don't let this happen to you next Friday. Next Friday being the 4th of July. So with the Independence Day holiday approaching, We heard from officials in New York City. They delivered this demonstration of what can go wrong when you're setting off fireworks by yourself. Fireworks did go on sale here in Oregon this week. They go on sale this weekend in Clark County. So with that, we have a few reminders about how to properly dispose of your fireworks. Number one, keep all used fireworks in a bucket of water overnight. The next day is when you should dump that water out somewhere where it won't flow into a storm drain or waterway. Then put the fireworks themselves into your trash. Do not put them into your recycling bin. Also, if you have any unused fireworks, you should not put them in your garbage or your recycling because they're still explosives. You can take them instead to a designated drop-off site. Rod, I pictured you back there in the Weather Center jotting all of that down.
Yes.
To make sure you do it correctly come next Friday.
Yeah, makes sense, right? I mean,
For sure. Common sense, right?
Yeah.
Just go with the common sense rules if you're doing fireworks yourself next weekend.
yes, and you know my pet peeve real quick, don't fire them over your neighbor's house. I hate that I'm up cleaning out my gutters in the fall and I've got bottle rockets all over the place.
It's one of the 10 Commandments.
On the roof, yeah.
One of the, yeah.
So
Thou
you
shalt not fire a firework over your neighbor's house.
You need an open area to do it. All right, here's a look at our satellite radar. I want to point out, see the little, right there, a little burst of cloudiness here, coming right there, up into western Washington. That latest disturbance has really thickened our clouds coming up the Columbia River and into the Willamette and producing the wet morning that we have here in Portland. But this is overall the same weather pattern for the last couple of days. As you head east, you find sun. Here's the Oregon Veterans Home camera out in the Dalles. Beautiful morning, 65 degrees. Here's the camera at Aspen Lakes Golf Course. This is in the Sisters area, looking out over the forest and the Three Sisters and the sunny blue skies. So gorgeous weather over in Central Oregon, including Sisters, Sun River, Bend, Redmond, Madras. You're all going to have just a really lovely day. All right, here is Portland. Good grief. Coming up on 4 hours now, 3/100ths of an inch of rain in downtown Portland from what has been those hours of drizzle and mist just being relentless and making everything really, really wet. 57 is the temperature, so it is clearly a rain gear or jacket or umbrella morning. We don't have much wind, so an umbrella works. We do have the forecast for later today showing that the mist is primarily going to be this morning. We think this afternoon the clouds will start to lift and thin somewhat. Temperatures 70 or better up and down I-5, low 60s at the beach, and there's the sun in Bend, John Day, and Pendleton, all just really, really lovely. Our 7-day forecast. Some early cloudiness tomorrow, but basically tomorrow it clears out during the AM hours, and then we're just sunny and clear for the next several days. So the forecast for your weekend is still absolutely good. 80 tomorrow, and then about 90 degrees on Sunday, and that is your update.
All right, quick look at traffic on this Friday morning, Rod. We've been talking about Friday light throughout the course of this morning's Sunrise Show. That theme continues here, a little bit slower right now in this hour than we saw in the 6 and 7 o'clock hours, but traffic moving pretty well right now on 26 East, 84 West, and I-5 North heading into downtown Portland.
Coming up next, Sunrise at 8, we expect a ruling from the Supreme Court. NBC's Alice Barr is tracking latest from Washington, D.C. Plus, Anna Wintour is stepping down as the head of Vogue, but she's not straying far from the company. We'll bring you the details coming up in your morning rush.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news, live from the scene.
That snowpack is still heavy.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
Welcome back to Sunrise. A major ruling today from Supreme Court justices narrowing the scope of nationwide injunctions. A ruling that gives the president a path to implement his plan to end birthright citizenship.
And the future of the interpretation of the 14th Amendment is still unclear right now. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington, D.C.
Hi there. The Supreme Court today issuing a major ruling that allows the Trump administration to take steps to enforce its controversial proposal to end automatic birthright citizenship for children born in the United States to parents who are undocumented immigrants. The ruling narrows the scope of what's known as nationwide injunctions to apply only to groups and individuals that sued, dealing a serious blow to the power of individual judges in lower courts to block policies across the whole country, something we've seen happen many times during the second Trump term. In this case, that means that the birthright citizenship case can move forward in states that challenged it and in states that did not. The case never addressed the legal merits of overturning birthright citizenship outlined in the Constitution's 14th Amendment, focusing only on whether judges had the authority to put it on hold across the entire country. All 6 conservative justices agreed here. All 3 liberals dissented. Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote for the majority that when a court concludes that the executive branch has acted unlawfully, the answer is not for the court to exceed its power too. In dissent, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson wrote that the decision was an existential threat to the rule of law. And again, this ruling has wide-ranging implications for a whole series of other nationwide injunctions judges have issued against Trump administration policies throughout this year. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Now to your morning rush. Closing arguments are underway in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Today, the defense team will get their last opportunity with the jurors. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges, which include racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Jury deliberations could begin as soon as this afternoon. Former White House press secretary turned journalist Bill Moyers has died at 91. Moyers was press secretary under President Lyndon B. Johnson. He also worked as a newspaper publisher and senior news analyst at CBS. He was perhaps most well known for his series of reports on PBS covering everything from government corruption to modern dance. And after 37 years, Anna Wintour stepping down as Vogue's head of editorial content. Wintour began her role at the fashion magazine in 1988. She says that the magazine is looking for a new head of editorial content. Wintour will now be the global editorial director at Vogue, and that's your morning rush.
To the editors, the publishers, the decision makers at Vogue, I say if you're still looking for a candidate to fill that role, might I suggest one Rodney?
Could you imagine if I was in charge of fashion for the entire country?
Yeah, things would look a little different around here.
These will be dark times, my friend.
Cerulean. He doesn't get that.
Well, neither do I.
Ladies will get that.
What is it? What'd you say?
Cerulean.
What are the ladies
Cerulean.
getting? What does that mean?
It's from a movie.
It's from
Cerulean.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
Look at him.
All right. Oh, I love
Cerulean
that Vogue story made me think of the movie Devil Wears Prada with Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Salem Skycam. So big deal about Portland being so wet this morning. I'll show you the Skycam in a moment. But it's been dry when you get south of Portland. Here's Salem. Just cloudy, just nice, quiet, comfortable morning, not much wind, 60 degrees. Good morning to you. Here's Portland. And you can absolutely tell this is as good as our radar this morning, all right? That is misty drizzle weather coming out of a low cloud deck. Coming up on 4 hours of this, rain amounts are likely going to reach 5/100ths of an inch. We're already more than 3/100ths of an inch with what's been coming down in this mist drizzle weather. And everything is wet down below. You can kind of tell the sheen on the highways if you look down below. 57 degrees. Here's the low cloud deck, and that's wet weather on Broadway from our Pioneer Park building by the square. 57 degrees in downtown Portland. 59 up in Kelso. Fog being reported in Astoria. Have not had many wet weather reports outside of the Portland metro area. It's partly cloudy in the Dalles, 65. It's a beautiful sunny morning over in Bend, where it's 61, and similar conditions out in Baker City. Futurecast shows what we've been seeing, and that is these low clouds for day 3 in a row on the west side. Another band of rain approaching western Washington. Now, yesterday's disturbance was a lot stronger and impactful than what was being indicated by the modeling we look at, and actually triggered some showers into Portland and Vancouver last evening and set the stage for the really thick, deep, low overcast producing mist and drizzle this morning. So we'll see how the models, if they handle this correctly. They show that our clouds from south of Portland will start to thin out later today, but that it could be overcast all day from Portland up through Vancouver, then up to Seattle. We certainly have the chance of some light mist, especially this morning along the coast, but generally we look for some thinning cloud cover down in Lincoln County as you drop to the south. Same thing in the valley. Temperatures will be in the 60s. Valley forecast, you may just stay dry today in Salem, and with thinning clouds this afternoon, you'll pop up to 76. Not bad. Southwest Washington, Vancouver reporting mist and drizzle in the air like Portland. Looking for highs to get up to about 70 or 72 with some thinning potentially later in the day. But again, near the Columbia North, you might just stay overcast and struggle to hit 70. Weekend is still a high confidence sunny one. We'll have early clouds tomorrow. We'll clear out no later than 10 a.m. We'll get up to about 80, and then we'll be close to 90 on Sunday, and we could hit 94 on Monday. And that is your forecast. Is the traffic time, Mr. Carney?
Oh, it is so traffic time, Rod. It is so time to look at the traffic. We'll do so with this wide map that shows the drive into downtown Portland from all directions in the viewing area. You see that one slow spot there at the bottom of your screen, I-5, traffic moving towards downtown Portland. Slow there right now. It looks like there's a disabled vehicle slowing things down on that drive. We will keep an eye on this map for you, of course, as we cruise through the last half hour of the Sunrise Show. Coming up next on Sunrise, it has been a full decade already since same-sex marriages became legal all across the U.S. So we're going to hear from one of the first couples in Washington to legally tie the knot 10 years ago, and we'll also hear from another couple that's about to get married.
KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus.
We have now issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yes.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW Plus.
Yesterday marked the 10-year anniversary of same-sex marriages being legal all across the U.S. So with that milestone in mind, Sharon Yu, with our sister station in Seattle, takes us to meet two different couples. One that's been married now for more than a decade, and one that's about to be.
Last name Minger, M-I-N-G-E-R.
Andy Bleha and Sprague Minger don't have much time.
Fantastic. Okay, cool.
With their wedding day fast approaching,
Fingers crossed for mom and dad next week.
Sprague has yet to tell his parents.
I did tell them I was engaged, and they didn't reject me. It's been difficult for them as older people to accept that their son is gay, a little bit, I think. They would say no, but you know.
What they don't know is that Sprague and Andy are already married.
You may kiss your husband.
We just had a lovely ceremony right here in our living room.
Part practical,
Health insurance and taxes and selling houses.
part political.
The election kind of tipped the scale for sure on that.
The thing that made me go, oh, was the whole thing with Roe v. Wade. The part of women's rights we thought was locked solid. I kind of look at what happened, just very recently and go, okay, I feel like we made the right move at the time that we needed to.
A piece of paper that binds them together may now protect them.
And then this is us with the actual marriage license.
It's what husbands Paul Beppler and Terry Gilbert fought for.
3, 2, 1. Happy Marriage Equality Day!
In 2012, Washington's marriage equality law was ultimately upheld by a voter-approved referendum, making it one of 3 states where voters directly weighed in, along with Maine and Maryland. Paul and Terry were one of the first couples to be married legally at City Hall in 2012.
The offices opened at midnight, so there were lines. There were a lot of people. There were reporters there, so it was
an event.
Everybody was just so excited. It means so much to a lot of people.
This eventually paved the way for federal legalization in 2015, allowing same-sex couples to enjoy the over 1,100 federal benefits and responsibilities that come with being officially married.
There are things in the tax code. There are things in inheritance. There are things in medical systems.
Public support for same-sex marriage has more than doubled over the past 2 decades, from 31% support in 2004 to 55% in 2015, and now around 67% approval. Wedding planner Cindy Savage says she sees the difference.
In 2015, most of my queer clients did not have parents in attendance. Most of them did not have family in attendance. And that's for exactly the reason you think. It's because they're homophobic. But what I've noticed in the last 10 years is that more and more we have not only parents attending, but parents attending very enthusiastically.
That's the hope for the newlyweds come October.
Show my appreciation to all of the people that were there to support me and love me through all the times that I had in my life. And so it's a celebration for us, but I get to celebrate with everyone that I love.
10 years after love won, it's still something worth fighting for.
Again, that was Sharon Yu reporting for us this morning. Coming up here in our next half hour of Sunrise, Oregon legislators only have a few more days to pass what has been a much talked about transportation bill. We're going to break down the bill and hear from lawmakers who are both for and against it. And later next half hour, envelopes stuffed with cash in exchange for licenses. We're going to tell you all about the Washington Driving School accused in a bribery scheme that put unqualified truck drivers on the road. Yeah, definitely worth staying tuned for that. Quick look outside, Providence Park, big concert there tomorrow night. Jelly Roll, Post Malone, big concert, downtown Portland. More Sunrise after this.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus. The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news, live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
Issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yes.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW Plus.
Good morning. I'm China Green. 3 people now face federal charges after a confrontation outside Portland's ICE facility. The video shows officers tasing a woman who allegedly threw a knife at them. She's charged with attempted assault of a federal officer. 2 others are facing misdemeanor charges. Headed over to Rod Hill now for a look at weather.
Well, one picture is worth 1,000 words. That's the lens on the camera atop the Wells Fargo building. It is wet, 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 wet coming into Portland. It's been going on for about 4 hours now. It's been mist and drizzle up to about 5/100ths of an inch of it, but it is soaking everything, or has already. Probably dry at noon, not guaranteed, but probably. Still overcast, 65. Later today, we'll look for the cloud deck to start thinning somewhat. The thinner clouds will be south of Portland. Clouds may hold near Portland up to the north into Vancouver. The weekend, though, different story, new weather pattern. Clearing out tomorrow morning. We'll get up to about 80. Sunday still looks to be sunny with rising temperatures in the afternoon that could potentially reach 90. Still have us at 94 on Monday to start next week.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was under the impression that you had a story there about a
meteor.
Yeah.
We don't have a story about a meteor. It was really cool. Unfortunately, I guess we won't be able to show
The video's gone. Sorry, Rod. We're talking about something that maybe we should be moving on from. I apologize. Meteor, southeastern part of the United States, was really cool to see.
Fireball.
You'll have to check it out somewhere else. In the meantime, Rod does have the forecast for you.
So yeah, no, don't check the fireball story until after I give you your forecast, okay? Good morning. Tell you what, this is not a morning that we had prepared you for. If you're just starting your day and you're coming into Portland, it has been a constant, steady mist or drizzle for coming up on 4 hours, and it is really wet. We do have solid cloud cover from Seattle all the way down through Albany and also at the coast. But outside of Portland, there just haven't been too many reports of any moisture falling from the sky. It is partly cloudy from Hood River east once again this morning out through the gorge, and we have sunshine in central and eastern areas. These are the temperatures later today. Comfortable weather statewide, generally 70s. But here's that money shot from the camera atop the Wells Fargo building showing just how wet it is coming into Portland, 57 degrees. It's tough to tell how much longer this will linger. This could easily still be going on at 10 o'clock this morning. We'll see. Eventually today, we believe the clouds will start to lift, the mist and drizzle will stop, and if we get thinning cloudiness for partly sunny or filtered sun by 5 o'clock, we'll hit 70 or warm up a little bit better than that. Now for your weekend, no changes here. This is a high confidence call that it will become sunny tomorrow morning and then it will be clear for the remainder of the way. 80 tomorrow. Looks like we could be up to about 90 degrees on Sunday. Next time I see you, I'll be on the KGW weather deck and I'll show you how wet it is outside. It is a soaking morning in Portland. That's your update.
All right, we'll do that, Rod, in about 10 minutes. Right now, we want to talk about this. At any minute, President Trump is expected to speak about a major ruling today from the Supreme Court that narrows the scope of nationwide injunctions.
The ruling gives the president a path to implement his plan to end birthright citizenship, but the future of the interpretation of the 14th Amendment is still unclear. Our Thomas Schultz has the latest from the newsroom this morning. Good morning, Thomas.
Hey, good morning, guys. And yeah, this is a landmark ruling that changes the playing field for judges around the country. The ruling narrows the scope of what's known as nationwide injunctions to apply only to groups and individuals that sued. These injunctions have been a thorn in the Trump administration's policy plans because they temporarily blocked some actions. One of the biggest blocked the president's plan to end birthright citizenship. This ruling allows the Trump administration to take steps to implement that plan, which again goes against the 14th Amendment. This injunction on birthright citizenship will apply just to states, groups, and individuals that have sued. Oregon is among those states that have sued, so this doesn't stop their lawsuit. Attorney General Dan Rayfield joined a suit back in January to block the birthright citizenship order. Now, in an ex post, Attorney General Pam Bondi says this Supreme Court decision would not be possible without excellent lawyers from the Department of Justice. She adds the DOJ will continue to defend and implement Trump's policies. Now, President Trump is expected to hold a press conference on this decision in the next few minutes. We'll continue to bring you the latest as it comes into our newsroom. Guys?
All right, thank you, Thomas. Live again in the KGW newsroom. Meanwhile, just under an hour from now at 9:30, a trimmed-down version of a major transportation bill returns to the floor of the Oregon House.
The fight over the bill comes just days before the legislative session is set to end this Sunday. Catherine Cook has that update.
It's fair to say there's bipartisan drama over this transportation bill. And as it makes its way back out of the committee, there's uncertainty over its future on the House and Senate floors.
Oregonians can't afford for us to kick the can down the road.
And roads are a big part of House Bill 2025-28. The massive transportation bill made it out of committee Thursday, a slimmed down $11.7 billion version from its previous $14.6 billion form.
Do not believe that the largest tax hike in Oregon's history is a compromise. It is categorically not a compromise.
And I know there are a lot of folks who just say you can't have any more taxes. Well, the taxes pay for the ability for us to get things done.
So what'll the nearly $12 billion bill get Oregonians over 10 years? Retention of 1,000 ODOT positions to start, including 600 people the state says they'd have to lay off if the bill fails. ODOT says they'd have to close maintenance stations and cut winter material purchases in half, impacting services later this year. Opponents of the bill say that's not the whole story.
We know that all of this money isn't going to roads. It's going to bikes and pedestrians and transit and a lot of things that Oregonians might not know that it goes towards.
The bill would cost Oregonians in several ways. The gas tax would go up by 12 cents in January. The privilege tax for new cars sold in Oregon would rise from 0.5% to 2.25%. At the DMV, registration fees would increase from $43 to $75. The new pay-per-mile tax for electric vehicle owners remains, with used EVs going first in July of next year. Those drivers can pay 5% of the gas tax rate per mile or an annual flat fee of $340.
Thank God we're finally going to address the need to have our electric cars pay their share. And that's built into this bill, and it needs to be talked about.
Representative Kevin Maddox was the only Republican on committee to vote yes in the bill's 8-4 passage. But it's still unclear what will happen when the bill hits the floor.
My hope is that this fails.
Up next, the bill heads to the House, which will meet Friday morning at 9:30. In Salem, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Next up, a follow-up to the KGW series called Uncommitted. The Oregon House just passed a bill that aims to make it easier to force people with severe mental health illnesses into treatment.
Lawmakers have tried and failed 3 times in recent years to loosen the state's current civil commitment rules. As of right now, the state effectively has to wait for someone to commit a crime before mandating care. Critics of the bill are worried that the new bill will expand civil commitment to access without addressing Oregon State Hospital's current capacity. But Senator Kate Lieber says in the long run, more civil commitments could help.
The hope is that this one we're able to actually free up some bed capacity based on this, because you'd be treating people and they would go back into the community treated.
The bill now heads to the Senate for approval. KGW investigative reporter Evan Watson has been following this issue for nearly 3 years now. You can catch up on his full Uncommitted series online now at kgw.com/uncommitted.
Oregon lawmakers also made moves this week on 2 separate gun bills. One of the bills bans rapid-fire activators like bump stocks and other devices that let guns fire more ammunition at a time. And this bill lets local governments decide if guns should be allowed inside public buildings. The bill was amended in the House. It now heads back to the Oregon Senate. A different gun control bill did not make it through the finish line, though. This one would have set up a state licensing program for gun dealers, in addition to the federal licensing that they're already required to have. That bill died in the House on Wednesday. Here's Republican Representative Jeff Helfrich's reaction to that. He issued a statement that said, in part, adding state-level licensing would have increased costs and driven small businesses out of operation, especially in rural Oregon.
Portland's Regional Metro Council has voted to make changes to the supportive housing services tax. That's the one voters approved in 2020. It's paid for by higher income earners across the Tri-County area. Right now, it's 1% tax on income above $125,000 for individuals or $200,000 for couples. Starting next year, those thresholds will be tied to inflation. The changes are forecast to impact some 90,000 taxpayers.
For the first time since 2011, the Oregon State Senate voted to override a governor's veto. Senate members voted against Governor Kotek's veto on a bill that had already passed through both chambers of Congress with bipartisan support. The bill aims to give legal backing to Oregon's Foster Youth Bill of Rights. It would guarantee the right to regular contact with siblings and also prohibit unnecessary separation without a court order. Now, Governor Kotek argued that it would also create confusion within the current system around child welfare and abuse investigations. But on Wednesday, Senate members voted to override her veto with a more than 2/3 majority.
I think these are key critical rights that are not and should not be controversial, and that is what I was focused on. I hope that we are able to ensure that kids don't have to wait yet another year to be able to have a phone call with their sister or to go to the park with their brother.
All right, next up for this bill, it will head to the Oregon House, which also has to vote to override the governor's veto. Next story, pretty crazy. Envelopes stuffed with cash in exchange for licenses, sometimes without the drivers even having to take a test. Investigators at Washington's Department of Licensing have uncovered an alleged bribery scheme that put unqualified truck drivers on the road.
So they were tipped off when a routine audit of third-party examiner found some irregularities, you could say. They found the Skyline CDL school in Auburn allegedly sent cash in gold envelopes like this one to a tester to pass a student and put them behind a wheel.
They started to find out a lot more people that weren't actually testing, test scores that were being entered when nobody was there.
The DOL tracked down 74 Skyline CDL graduate drivers and retested them. 80% failed, had their licenses revoked. The state also terminated its contract with third-party tester and suspended Skyline. Still ahead on Sunrise, one of the world's richest men is tying the knot this weekend. We take a look at the extravagant event and just how much it's going to cost.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news live from the scene.
That snowpack is still heavy.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
We have now issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yeah.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW Plus.
Welcome back to the Sunrise Show. One of the richest men in the world, Jeff Bezos. You see him right there behind me this morning. He's getting married this weekend in Venice. Not the Venetian in Las Vegas. He's getting married in Venice, Italy. Now, it's not all about love, this story. It's also about some anger, because the extravagant ceremonies have triggered a backlash from activist groups protesting the wedding as a sign of the growing disparity between the haves and the have-nots. NBC's Molly Hunter has more. Molly! Where you at, Molly? Is Molly not there?
This morning, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez kicking off day 2 of their wedding weekend extravaganza. All smiles boarding a water taxi last night.
It's an impossible city. It can't exist, and yet here it is.
And the A-listers are here too. Bill Gates, the Kardashians, pals Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King, Usher, Tom Brady, the newly single Orlando Bloom, and Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. And just like the bride and groom, everyone travels by boat.
And here, of course, we've got one of the highlights of the city, which is Rialto Bridge.
Tour guide Igor Skamparin discreetly showed us last night's venue. The beautiful 14th century Madonna dell'Orto in a quiet neighborhood interrupted mid-party by dramatic thunderstorms.
And Friday's event will be a little bit farther away from the crowds. Directly across from St. Mark's, you have San Giorgio Maggiore, a beautiful church on an island, and behind it, an amphitheater.
Behind the church, we got an amazing garden with like an amphitheater. We use it for different kinds of events.
Like ceremonies for
Absolutely.
150, 200 people, for
Yeah,
example.
intimate little ceremony in between friends.
Back to the main island, the third and final party location is also a stunner.
And Saturday night's exclusive party, even more off the beaten track. It is at the Arsenale, the city's old naval shipyard, still controlled by the military. And it is incredibly hard to get to for the public, for the paparazzi, and most importantly, for the protesters.
The group, No Space for Bezos, has been small but noisy in recent weeks.
This city is for everybody, for Bezos, for her wife, and for you, for me.
And local painter Luigi says it's cause for celebration.
Absolutely forever positive. It's a right beautiful occasion for every human, and not only business. It's life.
And love.
Love.
So a source told the Associated Press its most recent total for the entire wedding this weekend was about $56 million. Jeez. In comparison, that jaw-dropping figure is more than 100 times the average cost for an American wedding, $36,000.
Yeah, no, it's more than 1,000 times greater than the average.
What did
American.
I say?
You said 100.
Yeah, even more.
Yeah, no, I mean, the numbers get kind of hard to wrap your head around, right? 56 million, I can't do it. But Rodney, I can think about $36,000, and I'll tell you that even that to me seems too much.
There's no way.
The fact that we're spending even $36,000 on that one single day event.
No way.
It'll be 11 years this coming August 17th. Grace and I got married in our backyard. Wedding budget was $3,500 for about 100 people. Most of that was for the caterer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not surprising.
$3,500.
See, that's what I would call an intimate venue. You described Providence Park as intimate earlier. No, no, no. Your backyard is an intimate setting.
Oh, you haven't been in my backyard lately. I've got the umbrella. We're up here on the weather deck, brought to you by Rick's Custom Fencing and Decking. Again, this has been going on for 4 hours now. It's relentless. Mist or drizzle, kind of your choice of wording, but it is wet. There is standing water. We've had about 5/100ths of an inch of rain, and this could easily continue at least through 10 o'clock this morning. I'm curious to see if we're dry at noon or not. Let's get you to the weather maps on what has been, and what I will say, an unannounced, absolutely wet Friday morning. Yeah. Now, it hasn't been wet everywhere. You're looking at the Salem sky camera, and it's cloudy, but there's no moisture. It's been coming down. 60 degrees. Really been a nice morning down in Marion County. But there's downtown Portland. It is mist. It is drizzle. Temperature outside right now is 57 degrees. Also being reported as wet out along the Columbia River. And then the wet camera is the camera lens on top of the Wells Fargo building here in downtown, showing all those raindrops. Of course, the same temp, 57 degrees. We do have the clouds up and down the coast, but so far there has not been much in the way of moisture reports at the coast. Really, the epicenter is here into the Portland area, up into Vancouver. We've also had some reports of moisture out toward Hillsborough, but it's partly cloudy in Hood River and the Dalles, where it's 66. Futurecast shows more of what we've been seeing, and that is just cloudy skies up and down the west side. Models like the clouds thinning a little bit later today, especially south of Portland. That's not a sure thing. We'll see if it happens or not. As we go into the weekend, though, any cloudiness in the morning probably clears out by the 10 o'clock hour, and then we think we go on to be just beautifully sunny. But it will be warming up for the weekend, as we've been telling you. So back to today's weather. If the clouds thin in Corvallis, you're looking at a dry day with morning clouds, partly sunny afternoon, and 77 degrees. Clouds a better bet of holding solid, and maybe still some moisture around at noon in Vancouver and Battleground, trying to get up to the low 70s. And here is the 7-day forecast. I mentioned the weekend, not really changing it up at all from what we've been telling you. We're expecting it to be sunny, nearing 80 on Saturday and up to potentially 90 on Sunday. And then Monday, more confidence that we'll be up into the 90s at 94. After that, looks like we cool down a little bit. We don't have, okay, here's the address. Okay, I know we were celebrating a few, our apologies. Those can be found on our website, kgw.com. Send us the birthday photos to birthdays@kgw.com, and we will celebrate with you. Back to you.
All right, Rod, thank you for that. Real quickly, we want to send it over to Washington, D.C. President Trump now addressing a ruling today by the Supreme Court.
They voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly, and instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation. In practice, this meant that if any one of the nearly 700 federal judges disagreed with the policy of a duly elected president of the United States, he or she could block that policy from going into effect or at least delay it for many years, tie it up in the court system. This was a colossal abuse of power which never occurred in American history prior to recent decades, and we've been hit with more nationwide injunctions than were issued in the entire 20th century together. Think of it, more than the entire 20th century, me. I'm grateful to the Supreme Court for stepping in and solving this very, very big and complex problem, and they've made it very simple. I want to thank Justice Barrett, who wrote the opinion brilliantly, as well as Chief Justice Roberts, and Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Thomas. Great people. Thanks for this decision, and thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people. We have so many of them. I have a whole list. I'm not going to bore you, and I'm going to have Pam get up and say a few words, but there's really, she could talk as long as she wants, because this is a very important decision. This is a decision that covers a tremendous amount of territory. But I want to just thank again the Supreme Court for this ruling. It's a giant. It's a giant. And they should be very proud, and our country should be very proud of the Supreme Court today. And with that, I'd like you to listen to the words of Pam Bondi. She's an incredible Attorney General. We're very proud of her. And as you know, Todd Blanche is with us, and we have so many others that worked on this case and other cases. And I think they're doing a great job. Pam, please say a few words.
Of course, we will continue to cover this development all day today on our website, kgw.com. We have more Sunrise show for you just after this.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
It's certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news live from the scene.
That snowpack is still heavy.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus.
Here's a quick recap of some of this morning's top local stories. 3 people face federal charges after a confrontation outside Portland's ICE facility. Video shows officers tasing a woman who allegedly threw a knife at them. She's charged with attempted assault of a federal officer. 2 other people face misdemeanor charges. For the first time since 2011, the Oregon Senate has voted down a governor's veto. The Senate showed their support for a bill that backs the state's Foster Youth Bill of Rights, guaranteeing foster kids have contact with siblings and limiting separation without a court order. Governor Kotek had opposed this because she said the way it's written could create confusion in the foster system. The Oregon House will weigh in next with a final vote to override the governor's veto. And an Idaho judge says Brian Koberger, the man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students in 2022, will go on trial this August, but with a 1-week delay. The trial will now start on August 18th, 1 week later than originally scheduled. The judge didn't give a reason for the change, but he did deny the defense's motion for a longer delay.
And we have a very wet morning in Portland. It's been 4 hours now of mist or drizzle. This will continue into the 10 o'clock hour. I'm not sure if we're going to be dry at noon or not. We do know the weekend looks to be sunny both days, 80 tomorrow, 90 on Sunday.
All right, 10 seconds left to simply say
goodbye.
There you go. And thanks for watching right here on KGW Plus.